Pakistan cricket at its best. 1 minute down, next minute up.
Sad Sadiq here for PakPassion website, bringing you another exclusive interview. Delighted to have this guest once again. He's a regular contributor to PakPassion, always gives up his time, which is appreciated. Well, how can I describe him? I mean, he's a former Lancashire legend. He's played 9 tests, 8 ODIs for England. Player, captain, coach, umpire, you name it, he's done it. Well known for his commentary, his cricket writing and analysis over the years as well. The one and only David Bumble Lloyd. Bumble, nice to see you again.
And you too, Saj. Yeah, we've chatted a fair bit this year, and it's coming to an end, and I've enjoyed it. It's been really good.
Always enjoyable listening to your views, Bumble, and it's always no holds barred, and you voice your opinions, and I think that's what people want to hear. And just on that topic, Bumble, I'm watching quite a bit of cricket at the moment, and the standard of commentary, people just seem to be sitting on the fence. What's happened to commentators and being able to voice an opinion?
Well, it's a good point, is that, because you mentioned sitting on the fence, and they're a little bit scared that you don't want to put a word out of place, you don't want to say the wrong thing. I've just done a piece in the paper, in the Mail, and I've just said that people are waking up somehow, they're just waiting to be offended. And, our sport is cricket, and, it's a wonderful game. It's a fabulous game for all sorts of reasons, from the camaraderie, from the friendships, from the battle that you do battle with each nation. And commentators, I'm with you that they're sort of watching what they say rather than actually just be yourself. Just be yourself, and people will respond, and if you're any good, they'll respond in a very positive way.
I mean, you say any good, the likes of Nasser Hussain, Mike Atherton, we know they're absolute quality, and Simon Dewell and Ian Smith and those guys. So, I'm not putting this criticism towards them, but there's far too many commentators, Bumble, at the moment who are just bloody cheerleaders, aren't they?
Yeah, you can tell them a mile off, really, that, you mentioned cheerleaders, and, when I listen to football and cricket, which are my two core sports, really, other than fishing, which you don't want to get into fishing. I'll talk to you another time about fishing.
Yeah, we'll leave that for the next one, Bumble.
Yeah, we'll leave that. But you can tell them we're just reading stats out, just reading stats. Where I'd much rather just tell me what's happening in the game, what's happening in the event. And so, you get doyen commentators. You always have had, some fantastic commentators from all around the world. And seeing that we're talking PakPassion, I worked recently and with Waqar Younis and Wasim Akram. Now, there's a real gravitas there. Ramesh Raja, there's a gravitas that they know the game. They can project the game, and they're interesting. And so, I personally enjoy working with these guys. And then you look at Ravi Shastri, Harsha Bhogle in India. There's real gravitas about the commentary and the interest and the experience that they can bring to it.
Speaking of people being a bit scared to say things on commentary, Bumble, we've had a bit of a controversy recently with Isha Guha calling Jasprit Bumrah most valuable primate. Slip of the tongue, but could have got messy. I mean, with all due respect to Isha, she's very good. But, if somebody like yourself had said that sort of thing, Bumble, all hell would have broken loose.
Well, I know Isha, and there's no malice in anything that she said. She said the wrong word, and that is the glory of live commentary. You cock up. There's something that comes out. I've done it. That you think, oh no, that's not right. That's the wrong word. Now, she's wrong. She's used the wrong word. And people have jumped on it like that. They've absolutely banged in. There's no malice. And in fact, she's actually praising Jasprit Bumrah as being one of the greatest bowlers that we've seen, and certainly one of the very best of this generation. But, the last, she's had to apologise. And, I've had it firsthand. You've got to apologise. You've got to say this. You've got to say that. And it's scripted how you're going to do it. But in actual fact, there's no malice.
Well, let's move on to Pakistan cricket, our favourite topic, of course. I want to talk about coaches. Obviously, as a former head coach yourself, Lancashire, England, etc., you've got a lot of experience in the dressing room in many different roles. Pakistan Cricket Board, obviously, they got rid of Mickey Arthur initially. Then they brought Gary Kirsten in. I mean, in between those coaches, they've had others as well. Gary Kirsten and Jason Gillespie were brought in on 2-year contracts a few months ago. Huge fanfare. Pakistan have got two big names, two professional coaches, two guys that could take Pakistan cricket forward. And in the space of a few months, they're both gone. Chaos, isn't it? And that doesn't set Pakistan cricket up well for other coaches, foreign coaches wanting to take on the role, I guess, in future.
No, you'd be very wary if you were a coach from another country to take that job on. And, to look at the role of the coach is to work so closely with his captain, to get the team better individually and collectively. Now, if he's getting outside interference, that is both of them, captain and coach, it's untenable. You can't perform. And the other thing, from my viewpoint and watching social media, there are so many of the players coming out and saying bits and bats and different things. And it just gives a chaotic situation. Now, I mentioned that I've worked with wonderful commentators. Now Waqar Younis has been in that position on a couple of occasions, at least, as coach of the team. He's been there and done it and got the T-shirt many times. And I think he's a great fit. I'm looking from outside. I know the guy. I know him. And he would be a great fit. They've had some fantastic players. You look at Yunis Khan recently, one of the world's best cricketers. You look at the great players that they've had in the recent past. Imzamam ul Haq. I don't know what these guys are doing, but crikey, they would be an asset. They would be such an asset. To work with these young players, they've done it. They've had their time. Yunis and Imzamam were custodians of the time. Now, there are other young chaps who are wonderful players, world-class players, custodians. Just think of the knowledge that they can bring through. And for the people out, don't interfere. Don't interfere with what's going on the field. Because what we're looking to do as a team is to get better, to win matches, and to make the country proud of what we're doing. There's too much interference.
I look back and, going back a few years, Bob Woolmer, when he was head coach of Pakistan, did a fantastic job, great rapport with the Pakistani players, including Yunus Khan, Inzamam, etc. And then Mickey Arthur was at the helm when Pakistan won the Champions Trophy in 2017. But I think the way things are at the moment in the Pakistan Cricket Board, Bumble, I get the impression that the best fit with the Pakistani Cricket Board, not necessarily the players, are local coaches, because they seem to be the only ones that have the patience to deal with the Pakistan Cricket Board.
Yeah, and with the culture as well. And you mentioned Bob Woolmer there. Who was Bob Woolmer's number two? Waqar Younis. So, you're going back other than Waqar takes the job and he goes away and he's bowling coach and so on. I mentioned that word again. You can't have chaos, because chaos will find itself onto the field of play. And the players will, feel, what's all this about? When everything should be channeled and tunneled towards what's on the field. And that what's on the field is the players. What's behind the players is the coaching staff. And that should be a calm environment for them. But it's not. It's chaos.
Let's move on to the Champions Trophy, Bumble. The ICC announced today that the next few tournaments, ICC tournaments, Pakistan will not play in India and India won't play in Pakistan. Obviously, we've got the Champions Trophy, so any matches involving India or Pakistan, they'll be played on neutral venues. What do you make of that outcome, Bumble?
Well, it's not what I would make of it. It's what, in particular, Pakistan would make of it. What is Pakistan's take on this ICC decision? I assume that the ICC have been talking to India and Pakistan and have come up with a resolution. So, my take on it, as long as it fits both countries, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. If one country has been leaned on, I'm not so fine.
Well, I mean, Pakistan Cricket Board have sort of lost those matches that India were going to play in Pakistan. Bearing in mind the Champions Trophy was allocated to Pakistan 3 years ago. So the ICC have been dawdling for 3 years, and today they finally made a decision. But Pakistan Cricket Board have been sort of given this little sweetener of having a women's ICC tournament as almost like as I say, a sweetener for not having India playing in Pakistan, which is a little bit weak, isn't it?
Well, as long as Pakistan as a country are happy with and okay with this, I think we sort of draw a line under it. As long as they're okay with it, and they've said, yeah, we will go along with that. And again, what I'm going to watch now very carefully, Saj, is what response and reaction I'm going to get from the Pakistan players.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, Bumble. You talk about reaction. I think a lot of Pakistani fans are sort of suggesting that, look, we've lost India playing in Pakistan and they've just given us this women's ICC tournament, and Pakistan haven't really come out too well from it. The board won't say that, but I'm guessing a lot of fans will be disappointed in the decision from the Indian government.
Yeah, and again, that you and I and the fans are not privy to everything that's gone on. The fans have a voice, of course they have, and there will be a reaction to that decision. I want to know what the players and what the former players, former coaches, former great players, what they actually think about it, because in the very recent past, in the last few months, some very eminent players have been quite vociferous on their views as to what should happen and what Pakistan should do. So, after today's announcement, let's just see what the players' reaction is.
There's a danger, Bumble, that the ICC is becoming. I did an interview recently with Fazir Mohammed, the Caribbean commentator, and he called ICC an events management company. And he was talking about the power of the BCCI, the ECB, and Cricket Australia. And he was suggesting that it's dangerous for cricket that those three boards should have that much power and sway.
And I agree. I think that, we've gone through this previously, that certainly got to share the wealth, particularly at international level, at test match level. You've got to share the wealth in order for other countries to compete. Because these three big nations, the big three, seem to be setting the agenda. And, we then come on to the World Test Championship, which, you get a real reaction to that. I still cannot get my head round that you can have a competition that some teams play X amount and some teams play minus X, and you don't play each other the same amount of time. I don't get it. I just really do not get it.
Finally, Bumble, looking at workloads of players, time and again we're hearing from players saying, "Oh, there's too much cricket happening." I mean, we've seen recently where the likes of India and South Africa and West Indies have sort of finished one format, and then they've got another group of players starting a test match or a white ball series. It's just becoming ridiculous, isn't it, this?
Well, you can't keep up with it. Whereas test matches and one-day internationals, it used to be an event, and you can look forward to the event. Now there's a real crossover. That they're going from one country to another, and the days have gone when you would go to a country and acclimatise and get used to the country culturally, get used to all the temperatures and the variations that there are. Now you just jet in, play the sport, play the game, out you go, play somewhere else. And I was just thinking back to 1974-5, which is a hell of a long time ago, when England played in Australia. I don't think I'm wrong here. Before the first test match, we played every state. Before the first test match. Just imagine the amount of time that you're away from home on that particular tour. But now they seem a little bit whistle-stop.
Well, that's it. I mean, there's no warm-up matches nowadays, is there,
No.
for a lot of series?
And again, if you look at, if we talk about Pakistan of yesteryear coming to the UK, they would play every county. They play the counties. And now you come in, play the test matches, play what they would say the important games, off you go and jet out. And it dilutes it a little bit. In my opinion, it's diluted.
Well, Bumble, thank you very much for your time once again. I'm sure we'll catch up soon. Plenty to talk about as always in Pakistan cricket. You never know what's going to happen next, but really appreciate your time. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Sajid. Watch this space as always.